I worked at an amusement park for about a year. Until then, I thought things like ghosts and other strange phenomena were all just nonsense. But after working there for a year, I started to wonder if dismissing such things entirely was too narrow-minded of me. Since I loved amusement parks so much from a young age, it was only natural that my first job was as a park staff member. One day, I was on an afternoon shift, so I slept in and left my dormitory in the afternoon. As I was slowly walking to my workstation, I saw a woman frantically pacing around the carousel looking for someone. "Is something wrong? Can I help you?" I asked. The woman asked for help finding her son who had disappeared and gave me his description. "One moment, please." I immediately radioed the Center for Missing Children within the park, relaying the boy's appearance and name. "There's a mother in front of the carousel who lost her child. Fortunately, someone had found the boy and brought him to the nearby Missing Children Center. We were able to find the child there. The boy said he had gotten lost while following a person in a cute character costume while he was crying and looking for his mom. A lady comforted him and held his hand. The boy didn't remember the lady's face, but he did remember that her belly was very big. I could only assume she must have been pregnant. After the boy's mother thanked us and left, my more experienced coworker, who had been working there longer than I had, mentioned that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. There had been several cases of children following a pregnant woman. I wondered about the ludicrous idea of a pregnant kidnapper, and then I noticed I was running late. I rushed to my workstation. My job at the roller coaster ride was to help riders board and get off safely. As usual, I safely guided the riders and fastened their safety harnesses, and the roller coaster began to leave the station. Since there was some time before they would return, my coworker and I started chatting. After talking for a bit, the ride arrived. We were helping passengers get off when we saw a man in the last car who didn't seem to have any intention of getting off. Why is that man not getting off? I wondered if the ride had been so scary that he might have wet himself. The male passenger was just sitting there without moving at all. "Sir, are you okay?" Suddenly, he looked into space, waved his hands in the air, and shouted for something to go away as if there was something there. "Calm down, please." It took 3 of us to barely lift the frantic man and move him to the platform outside the ride. After a while, the passenger finally came to his senses and began to tell us his unbelievable experience. The passenger, who had just fainted, claimed to be a thrill seeker who had ridden roller coasters many times, but he had never been as scared as he was today. This man was sitting alone in the very last car to enjoy his ride even more. As the roller coaster going fast, twisting and turning, he was enjoying the thrill. However, when the ride began to slow down and move more slowly, he decided to check on his friends. At that moment, he saw a woman's face up ahead. It should have been the back of someone's head, but instead, he was seeing a woman's face. She was in a position that would be impossible for a normal person on a moving roller coaster. As he turned his head to look around, he saw long hair waving in front of him. When he turned in the direction the hair was waving from, the woman he had seen up ahead was now right in front of him. His last memory was of a woman with a sad expression, clutching her belly. I was really intrigued after hearing about that man's experience. Who was that woman? Was she really a ghost? My mind was filled with thoughts of this mysterious woman all day while I worked. Before I knew it, closing time was approaching. Once all the lights are turned off, the amusement park becomes as dark and eerie as something out of a movie. There have actually been quite a few staff members who fainted after claiming to have seen a figure on one of the rides once the lights were out. Because of this, many staff members requested to be excused from closing duties, which include patrolling the area to make sure no riders are left in the amusement park. Unfortunately, today, the day of the incident, was my turn to do the closing duty. While patrolling with my coworker, she pointed out something ahead, asking what it was. As we approached, we noticed a woman walking away from us. "Ma'am, we're closed. You can't stay here," I called out, but the woman ignored us and kept on walking. As we turned the corner to follow her, she disappeared from our sight. How did she disappear so quickly? We were even more on edge because of the vanished woman. We then headed to the last patrol spot, the restroom. "She's still here," I whispered, noticing the woman who had disappeared, now standing in front of the restroom. "Ma'am, you really need to leave now." But before I could even finish speaking, she walked into the women's restroom. We decided to report the situation over the radio and sat on a bench to wait for her to come out. 20 minutes passed, and she still didn't come out, so we decided that I would check the men's restroom while my coworker went into the women's restroom to bring the woman out. As I was checking each stall in the men's restroom, I heard my coworker's urgent voice calling for me to come quickly. Startled, I ran to the women's restroom. "What's going on?" I asked my coworker. She thought the woman was here, but no matter how much she called, there was no answer. My coworker's eyes still fixated on the very last stall in the restroom. Seeing that it was the only one closed, it was clear that the woman had gone in there. Maybe something has happened? My coworker decided to look through the opening under the door, but no one was visible. Surely we should have seen at least her feet. She then told me to climb up the wall and check. Reluctantly, I agreed, knowing we had to ensure the woman's safety. I entered the adjacent stall, stepped on the toilet, and peered over the wall. At that moment, I heard the sound of a woman sobbing. Thinking something terrible had happened, I looked down and saw a crouching woman and blood splattered on the floor. She noticed my presence and looked up at me. Instinctively, we screamed and ran out of the restroom. We urgently radioed our supervisor from in front of the restroom. The supervisor arrived shortly, and we breathlessly recounted everything that had just happened. After hearing our story, the supervisor said with a calm, nonchalant voice,
"Ah, you must have seen her too."
He then shared the tale while looking at our shocked faces. Several years ago, a pregnant woman came to the amusement park. Suddenly, her water broke, and she had to give birth in the very last stall of the restroom. When the staff responded to the report and checked, the mother was in a life-threatening situation due to heavy losses of blood. Despite her life-threatening situation, she first checked to see if the baby was okay. When the baby burst her first cries, the mother seemed relieved and then closed her eyes. Since then, there have been rumors circulating among the amusement park staff members about sightings of a pregnant woman. The location and time of these sightings varied, but she always had a sorrowful expression. Many believed that this woman is the spirit of the mother who couldn't leave this place. Perhaps she lingers here because she wants to see her baby. Learning this filled me with sadness and sympathy for the woman.